Hello guys, welcome back to Coder Journey. This is episode number 5 of the Clean Architecture course. In this episode, we are going to, move to our project inside of Visual Studio, and we're gonna start implementing the different concepts that we have inside of the application. So let's get to this. In this episode, first, we want to introduce the domain layer, right? So we are going to implement the actual domain of the application using domain-driven design, right? And the focus will be on modeling real-world concept inside of a company called Pirus. This is a company that I often use inside of the different courses that I've got here on my channel. So we're gonna try to have a common business language, the ubiquitous concept, right, from domain-driven design, and we're gonna start implementing the domain layer. So let me zoom in a bit so that you guys can better see. So this is the domain. The domain represents a company called Pirus, which includes several departments: human resources, marketing, and payroll, right? These are the 3 departments. At this point, we will model 3 core entities in our system: employee, department, and project. We are going to take it one step at a time and implement these little by little. Then we will evolve the domain gradually, adding behaviors, rules, relationships, and so on. So at first, the domain model will be a little bit anemic, but little by little, it will get richer. The ubiquitous language in domain-driven design. One of the principles of DDD is the use of a common language between domain experts and developers. It is called the ubiquitous language. So a language, a common shared vocabulary between the domain experts and developers. So by aligning our code with the terminology used in the business domain, like employee, department, project, we're going to make the code easier to understand. We're going to prevent translation errors between technical and business conversations. And we're going to ensure our model reflects our real-world rules and structures. Sorry. So first off, we're going to create a class library. But before that, I want to talk about a very important topic: organizing the domain based on features, not based on type. Let me tell you what I mean. We will add a class library called pirushr.domain, which is something that I have already done. So right now we are on episode number 5. If I go to my project, right, on branch number 5, you will see that I've got this class library inside of this solution with single entity. By the way, guys, if you want to get access to the full source code of this, course with the different branches, which allow you to navigate the code base, based on the content of each episode, you can find the link, the download link to this, solution file in the description of this video. So anyway, let's move on and talk about organizing by features. So we're going to have this domain, right? Now, the idea is simple. Instead of structuring the project with generic folders like entities, enumerations, services, right? We are going to organize things based on feature. So for example, inside of the domain, we're going to have a folder called employee, and inside of this folder, we're going to have everything related to an employee as a concept in our domain, right? So we're going to have probably some entities, we're going to have some value objects, we're going to have some services, and so on. The same goes for a department. So this is I think, preferred way to organize your files inside of your folder. So instead of creating a folder called entities and then putting all of your entities like employees, departments, projects inside of that folder based on type, as you can see here, based on type, we are going to organize things based on feature. This makes your code more understandable and easier to navigate. So again, we are going to create folders based on the concepts that exist inside of our domain. like, for example, employee, right? And then we are going to put everything related to employees, services, entities, value objects, enumerations inside of that folder. So this approach makes it easier to, of course, locate related concepts quickly. So if you want to see what things are related to an employee, you can navigate to that employee folder and you will find everything related to an employee there. You can understand the business logic and how components relate. You can scale the solution as the domain grows. Next, another thing that we want to talk about, encapsulation and immutability. So immutability means something that doesn't change, right? Immutability. So when defining domain entities, we want to protect their internal state from being changed arbitrarily. So we can achieve this by doing two things. First, making the class sealed to prevent inheritance unless explicitly intended. If you take a look here, this is my employee, right? And of course, I am going to create a folder called employee and put that employee inside of that folder. But as you can see here, this employee entity, first, it's gonna be sealed. I told you that one way to implement entities is to use a class, right? So I highly recommend creating a sealed class for your entities. Not only it gives you a small performance boost, but also it helps with, sealing your entity class so that that class is not going to be inherited by other parts of your application. So that's one thing. While I'm here, let me quickly create this folder and put this little guy inside of this folder. So that's one thing. Always make sure you declare your entities as sealed. Next, setting properties with private setters to enforce encapsulation. This is also something else that I want you to always remember about your entities. When you want to have properties for your entities, you see here, I've got this identifier. I told you that entities need to have a unique identifier, right? Always, always make sure you make the setter of your properties private. So this helps with encapsulation. This helps with protecting the invariants of your entity. And we're going to talk about the invariants. Basically, invariants are the rules that need to always hold true for your domain, right? So by setting the private setter on the full name, for example, we are avoiding any arbitrary changes coming from the outside of the employee entity. So two very important things. Again, make sure you make your entities sealed. Your entities are going to have an identifier, and the properties of your entities need to have private setters. This ensures that entities can only be modified in controlled, intentional ways through the methods that you can define in your entity. For example, setting a different full name or updating the full name, and then inside of that method, you can of course do validation if you want, and you maintain data integrity and prevent unexpected side effects. So this is the example of the employee entity that we just have here, and I moved it inside of this folder. The entity is currently anemic. This is another concept that you need to learn. So right now the employee entity is anemic. Anemic means it lacks behavior. It doesn't have any business logic. It is only a bag of properties. If you take a look here, we don't have any specific behaviors or methods. We only have these three properties and one constructor. So this means that the entity is currently anemic. When we say anemic, it means that there are no behaviors, there are no business logic, anything inside of the entity. The entity is only a bag of properties. This is only temporary, by the way. As we grow the domain, we'll enrich it with rules and methods that reflect the real-world business operations. So one more time, in summary, We are modeling a realistic business domain. PVUS is the name of the company. And then we are going to use domain-driven design and ubiquitous language to align our code with business language. Then we are going to organize based on feature, not based on type. Of course, we are going to make encapsulation our priority. That helps with keeping everything in a perfectly correct state. And of course, we are going to evolve little by little, and we are going to add more meaningful behaviors to our entities. And that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching this, and I'll see you in the next one.